All righty. Welcome back. Hello, hello. Another day, another week, another episode of my favorite podcast. Not to be too biased, but I always ask the question, what if it did work? And I got to say, I'm honored and privileged to have an outstanding CEO, the man, the myth, the legend. This guy is bringing cookies to the forefront, and not only amazing cookies, but incredible cookies, way better than competition. I wasn't a cookie connoisseur until I tried his brand. Because, Mrs. Fields, who cares? It's just chocolate chip cookies. His competitors, to me, a knockoff pretty much of Mrs. Fields. You, my friend, this is what I gotta say. Bennett Maxwell, CEO of Dirty Dough, sales expert, the man before that was an expert at solar companies and a future author, if I may say so. How's it going, brother?
I'm doing really good. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the amazing intro. Thank you.
Hey, man, pleasure was all mine. When I saw you on Facebook, yes, the company that I'm with now currently, Pie Syndicate, we're aligned with Dirty Dough. But even right before that, when I saw you as a guy that I can friend, I'm like a CEO of a franchise. Because I was an expert of franchises for 20 years, man. You're pretty transparent, man.
Oh yeah, I mean the goal is definitely to be as transparent as possible, and that comes from a sales background, right? Be as transparent as possible, and I don't know. A lot of times in the sales, we are trained to only talk about the good, and it's like no, you could talk about the bad. Like me as a consumer, if you're selling me some, I want you to tell me what the downfalls of your program are, right? And then that allows me to better weigh out the pros and cons. If you just pitch me the cons, or sorry, if you just pitch me the pros, I know you're bullshitting me, So I'm like, so that transparency, contrary to what's taught in sales, I mean, in any of my sales presentation, I always bring up the downsides, right? And then that way I can control the narrative and also, help them weigh out the pros and cons. But definitely never try to hide from those downsides, from the cons, the cons on a certain.
Yeah, but the thing is with salespeople, none of us were born into sales. What happens though, usually people learn a script. They literally learn the A through the Z of why this product. To me, isn't it keep it simple? Know a couple bullet points, build rapport, actually listen to the other guy. Instead, they're like vomiting all this information, and the other person can be on the verge of buying, but it's like, no, hold up, wait, there's more. Just like that infomercial, wait, there's more. It's like, no, just shut up and let the guy talk already.
So this is my first summer doing door-to-door pest control. So 2015, 7 years ago, I come and I'm knocking on the door. This is in like Thousand Oaks, California, and I sell the wife. She's like, let me just get the final approval. My husband's going to be home in an hour or two. So I come back, I find the husband, and I start pitching him, and he just stops me and he goes, yeah, my wife already explained it. We're in. I said, cool. Then I go back into my pitch to let him know what he's getting. And he goes, listen, son, I'm going to share something that my grandpa shared with me. When you make the sale, get the F out of the office. He's like, here's my card. Don't talk anymore. Leave. I was like, okay. But yeah.
Amen, man. Amen. You know what? And we're all in sales. I hate when people say, oh, I'm not a sales guy. I pitched you.
Yeah.
I gave you a compelling reason to be on my show. You pitched your wife a compelling reason. Hey, marry me. Let's build a future. Corporate America, you had to lie and say, hey, you know what? My biggest flaw is I'm going to stay here till the job gets done. I'm a perfectionist. I love to work hard, et cetera, et cetera. I don't just show up. I stay till the job is done. It's a sales, man. And what happens though is I cringe because I'm one of those people that love sales presentations. When I was married, dude, we'd go to timeshare presentations, which my ex-wife hated, and my kids. It wasn't for the friggin' $300 or time is money, man. I just love love the basics. Emotional selling. Hey, you know what? Your kid won't remember what they got on their 12th birthday, but they'll remember the overpriced timeshare vacation that you gave them. And then how they try to not only emotional sell, but since I'm Hispanic and my ex-wife was Hispanic, let's match them up with Latinos. Then there's always like the black sales guy to pitch to the black sales people, the black family. Then there's a homosexual guy, the flamboyant guy. We use him, when it's it's an alternative lifestyle couple, and it's like, dude, come on now, man. But we all laugh, but just based on the manipulation, because to me, a manipulation it's only one-sided. Can anybody actually say, man, this timeshare, when you will this to your kids and they're paying like $2,000 a month in maintenance, they're gonna think, man, they're gonna be hating you. They're gonna be like, Mom, Dad, you left me this shit. But that's manipulation. But yeah, dude, I've seen it time and time. My old gym, there was these two hot chicks getting ready to sign up, and the guy kept on like selling them to competition. It's like, I felt like saying, shut the fuck up. You got the sale already. He's like, yeah, no, but the other place has more AC and it has more stuff on cardio, and the two women were like, okay, well, we'll be right back. Ghosts, never saw them. And it was like, clearly, like what you said, once you have the sale, pass the contract.
Get out of the office.
Get out of the office. They'll sign it. They'll sign, seal, delivered onto your next presentation.
Mm-hmm.
So do you help others in the sales process, or now you just primarily focus 100% on your franchise?
I mean, yeah, I took on a senior advisor last June. I sold my solar company, took him on, actually it was in September, so exactly a year ago now. And he told me, and in the sale of the company, they gave me a salary, they gave me stocks, and then they were going to give me continued stocks based on revenue. And he told me, he's like, if you want Dirty Dough to exceed, you got to leave all of that behind. So, I turned down, multiple six figures between salaries and stocks for a company that at the time wasn't even profitable, but no. So right now I'm just focused on Dirty Dough. And I'm really glad that I did get that advice, because I've been able to grow the company so much bigger, so much faster by just focusing on franchising rather than kind of keeping my old ties to solar.
I got to ask you this though. I know success is going way past your comfort zone, but you literally, an established guy, you were like, screw it. Let me start in a startup. Not only a startup, but something that the competitor had a head start on you. And yeah, a lot of times, that plays a big part, but you're confident enough that did you have any second thoughts, or were you like, this is it for me?
No, I for sure had second thoughts all the time, but it was a big leap. All right. I'm going from a sales background to buying a food franchise business. Well, buying a food restaurant, bakery, and then franchising. I'd never worked in food before. So yeah, that was a big leap, but I was confident in the problems that I saw and my ability to solve them. And I'm like, okay, here's the competition. And basically I broke it down into the two major companies out there. You already mentioned one, Mrs. Fields has been around for 45 years. They've had their ups and downs, but they're still here 45 years later. And then you have the Crumble, right? And they're a lot newer, but their revenues are so much higher than Mrs. Fields. And why? I attribute it to, this large gourmet cookie. And now they weren't the first ones to do it, but they're the first ones to franchise it successfully. So we're looking at that, like, how can we, have this high revenue potential of a Crumble with these large multi-flavored gourmet cookies served fresh to your door, but keeping the robust model of Mrs. Fields. Mrs. Fields has been around for 45 years. Well, Mrs. Fields does a centralized production model. So they are operating out of half the square footage as compared to a Crumble, right? Half the labor. I mean, you can go in and you can find one employee there sometimes two, right? But very, very low cost, very low waste. And that's because everything's pre-manufactured and then shipped to the store for it to be baked fresh on site. So I looked at both of those models. I'm like, well, I want the high revenue potential of Crumble, but what Crumble does is they order all their own raw ingredients per store. And then you have to hire teenagers to mix the dough in very small batches. And then you have to hand weigh everything. And then, I mean, it's just the labor is just ridiculous. So can I find a machine that allows me to compete in the gourmet multi-flavored cookie market while giving me, you know, the lower break-even point model of the Mrs. Fields? And that's why I decided to do. So I saw two models that were proven, and then I combined the best of both worlds. So that's what gave me the confidence to really dive full into it and leave everything else behind. Cause I'm like, I can see myself making this a national brand. And here we are, well, we franchised it in December. So we're into it 9 months and we have 166 stores, I think, that we've sold. 5 of them have opened so far and they're all doing great. So that's, I saw the vision, definitely doubted myself multiple times, but still went through with it anyway. You know, going to what if it did work? Because if it did work, man, what a potential impact that we can have, not just in the cookie industry, right? But how many jobs can we provide? How many people can we help? How many teens can we help with mental health? How many wellness centers can we build? How many more entrepreneurs can we create? You know, so that was always the vision all along.
The one thing that I love about your business model, you said it best. 20 years I was in the QSR in this franchise, quick service restaurant. Labor can kill you. If I was running anywhere between 20% and under, great model for any franchise.
Yep.
Clearly, your competitor, the Crumble, there's no way they're at 20% labor. I work out at a gym right next, door open, and there's 4 kids, 5 kids. I see at their prime, 6 kids working at their prime slot. There's no way, man. Their labor is eating them alive. Their margins are so thin. And let me tell you, when you have to mix all those ingredients, I know one thing from 20 years of being in QSR, there's a lot of waste. There's a lot of, oh shit, I messed up. Next batch.
Yeah, no, it happens all the time. So like comparing the two models, we order everything to a centralized production. So you get 2 large discounts when you do that. When you go from buying a 50-pound bag of flour to a truckload, you know, that's a 10+% discount. Then when you go directly from, you know, buying through a Sysco, Dom Foods, US Food that distributes it to all your locations, they always have a 10+% markup, right? Now you can go straight to the flour, sugar, butter manufacturer. So we're getting our cost of goods much less. Then we mix, Crumble's mixing about 65 cookies at a time in a 40-quart mixer. We're mixing 1,400 cookies at a time with a professional baker. They're using a teenager, right? And then they portion it by hand on a little scale. Every single cookie weighs a different, you know, it's a different size, shape, height, weight. We throw it through a machine that, again, going through like what our product is, we have the world's only 3-layer cookie. So you look at a cookie and it looks like a chocolate dough, and then you bust it open and there's a chocolate chip dough in the middle. And in the very center, there's caramel leaking out of there, right? So, and all of that is done with a machine that eliminates all of that labor for hand weighing, hand portioning, and getting all that inconsistency. Then we ship out those dough pucks to the stores for them to just be put in the oven. So it's very hard for people to mess up. There is no crap, I messed up the batch. Oh, what do I do with my leftover ingredients that didn't make it into this week's rotation? There's none of that, right? That's all done at that corporate level. So it's really trying to make it as simple as possible. You know, simplicity is key.
Simplicity is always key, brother. I've been in franchises that Entrepreneur Magazine or the franchise says it's a turnkey, supercuts. That's wrong, man. They had me buy the gonads. I can't cut hair. I'm not a cosmetologist. And then there's the other ones. Yeah, here, weigh this, scoop that. Man, nobody has time for that. It's so much harder to scale if you have to do all that, because you need babysitters. Because I'm sorry, and I don't even care if it's teenagers, college kids, or high school kids. Adults need to be babysat, man. So if you're going to have to look at the cost of goods like under a microscope because you have razor thin margins, man, there's no way in heck you're going to be like, oh, well, I want two of these bad boys, 3, 4, 5. There's only one location in any franchise. Congratulations, brother. You just bought yourself a job.
Yeah.
How do you like it?
I love that you say that. That's exactly, I mean, I've said the same thing time and time again, because I was looking at buying a Crumbl franchise once upon a time. And as soon as I found out it was owner operated only, that was the only model. I couldn't hire somebody to do it. I'm like, wait, so you want me to buy my own job? Like, I already have a job and I make more money than what this franchise will bring in. Why would I pay you money to now work, freaking 50, 60 hours a week, 52 weeks of the year? Like, no, I'm not doing that. So as soon as I saw that, I stepped out. And I'm like, no, I want something that I can open up multiple of these that don't require me to be there for the business to make money, right? Going from trading time for money to trading money for more money.
Well, it's crazy because, yes, I was in the world of franchising for 20 years. And my ex-wife and I, who was my business partner at the time, we would look at other franchises. And it's crazy how many were so transparent, are like, yeah, we want owner operators. It's like, so you want somebody to invest, to buy a job. Wow, thank you. It's like, for that, man. And then the owner operators, they literally, you buy yourself not only a job to make money, but then these franchises have you under their thumb that they're like, okay, let's see what's going on. We're going to send you our rep every week, and we want the paperwork, and we want you to explain the shrinkage, and we want you to, it's like, for that, man, just stay in corporate America. Why risk an SBA loan? Why risk your life savings to be an owner operator? Right?
There's a book out there called The E Myth Revisited, and the E stands for entrepreneur. So it's the entrepreneur myth. And he says most entrepreneurs aren't, in his mind, true business owners. What they do is they own their own job. And he says, and it's a shitty job at that, because when you are a good plumber and then opening a plumbing business, you're still the technician at that point, right? But now you work the longest hours and you get paid last. So it's like, not only do you have a job, you don't have a business, you have a job, you have a shitty job that you work the most hours and you get paid last. And I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen that. I mean, that was me with my solar company, I'm like, I would have made more money as a sales rep, especially starting out. I'm like, I just invested a lot of money into this and now I have a job and it's shitty because my sales reps are making more money than me, while I'm figuring all of this out. And I'm like, man, this sucks. I should just stay a sales rep.
Dude, it's funny though, whenever you see like an owner operator franchise, a lot of times, which are just glorified manager, they're walking around like they're Hugh Hefner. Dude, I would always see like the Chick-fil-A guy like walking around like he's Hugh Hefner himself. And it's like, dude, you're a slave to Kathy Truitt. You're a slave to Atlanta, man. You're a slave to Chick-fil-A. Don't walk around like, you're driving a Lambo. Because, yes, I think it's only 60, 80K of your own money. They put in the rest. But it's literally, you buy yourself a job. And it was funny because going into franchising, you learn real quick. Because I remember people telling me, you have to scale. Because if not, you're just a glorified, you bought yourself a job. And it was so correct. That's why we had to scale quick, because it was like, shit, we got into, at the time, it was into smoothies. I know, sleeping through college and high school, I wasn't like thinking, oh man, you know what? One day I want to be the blend master. I want to be the guy that everybody goes to when it comes to smoothies. Hell no, man. And I tell that to anybody. And, looking at your business model, that's why, Pie Syndicate and, they brought me on board being the franchise guy to look at the numbers. And it's like, man, it truly is like a no-brainer in the sense it's idiot proof, because at the end of the day, you want the owner to have control. Yeah. You don't want the inmates, I know it's a bad term, to run the asylum. You don't want them You don't want all the employers to go, hey, we have you.
Well, that's what happens, and I've seen it happen. Even, I mean, even with my partner, the first few weeks, I mean, he's doing a great job now, but the first few weeks, he was so involved in the day to day of opening his franchises that it's like, dude, if you're serving customers cookies, what you can't be doing is fixing problems, right? If you're fulfilling orders, you can't be marketing the company, right? So you get stuck working in the business to try to save a few bucks, and then it costs, you're tripping over pennies, and losing all of the dollars, wherever that saying is. But anyways, I see that so often. It's like, no, that what you're doing is a $10 an hour job or a $15 job. Like, what are you worth if you're actually working on your business? Well, you're worth $50 an hour, $100 an hour, $500 an hour, whatever it is. But don't ever do a $15 an hour task as a business owner, right? And people disagree, like, oh, that the owner should be sweeping. I mean, could you help out here and there to show an example? Sure, but fundamentally, I disagree with that. It's my time's worth $1,000 an hour, and anything else, including attorneys that charge $600 an hour, I'm going to have them do before me, because if I'm on a franchise sales call, I'm worth thousands an hour, right? So I need to get on those types of calls and leave the rest to other people that I can pay less money to do.
Bennett, that took me somewhere between 5 and 7 years and my ex-wife of being owners, because it was clearly, oh, if we work our stores, imagine how much thousands we can save. Yeah. But and it's like, so both of us who had a master's degree, great in marketing, great in every other aspect, to replace a $9 hour employee. Oh wow, man, we're just saving money. We're saving millions upon millions. And yes, it was literally that long of a process when that light bulb came on and go, you know what? Yes, labor goes up. Woo! But I would hope that every franchisee, every entrepreneur, every business person can scale out and pay someone else to do the remedial task while they focus on the more important stuff, which is bringing in more revenue.
Yeah, I mean, I was having a conversation with this franchisee, and like, dude, you need to stop working in your store. Like, not that you can't work on your business, but stop working in your store serving cookies. Oh, well, I had to because somebody didn't show up. I was like, what do you mean you had to? Like, if you would have put a Facebook ad out that minute and said, I need somebody to come in today, I'll pay $50 an hour. Like, what's worth more? You pay somebody $50 an hour for an 8-hour shift. It costs you $400. And then you go do a franchise sale and you make $40,000, because that's what we charge for a franchise fee, right? So it's like, if you spend 8 hours, you will sell a franchise. Why are you spending 8 hours trying to save 400 and you're losing 40,000? I mean, those are the actual numbers in that scenario. And he's like, oh yeah, like, I am worth, even if it's $50 an hour, and I could get people in here at $50 an hour, I'll overpay somebody so I don't have to do the work. And then it's like, again, stick with what you're good at. And if you're good at sales, you're good at sales. If you're good at operations, you're good at operations. If you're good at marketing, and that's where you get the best bang for your buck, then focus on marketing rather than, oh crap, I don't have a bookkeeper, so I'm going to be the bookkeeper. No, hire a bookkeeper out, and then you go make more money for your business to support that bookkeeper plus more.
Why do you think, though, people have this narcissistic that they do everything the best, and then also, oh, work on your weaknesses? That's the biggest load of crap, man. I sucked at paperwork. I sucked at bookkeeping. So what I should do is pour over YouTube videos, go to my local community college, take a non-accredited course on how to be a great bookkeeper, spend all this countless time, resources, and energy to what? Just be mediocre, yeah. Instead of just, hire it out, man. It's crazy, right?
No, 100%. And I mean, I took a startup course, and he said, as a founder, it's $1,000 an hour. You need to always think, is this worth $1,000 an hour? If not, I shouldn't be doing it, as you're scaling a business. And that's 100% true. It's really looking at, could I figure it out? Sure. But how long is it going to take me? And what else could I have done? What's the opportunity cost? So too often we're just like, oh, well, I could save $400 by writing up this email instead of asking my attorney to write it up, right? But it's like, well, no, I'm going to go make a lot more than $400 for my company in that same amount of time, as long as I know what I'm good at, and then I focus on those tasks. So yeah, I'm a big believer of focus on what you're good at and hire other people. I mean, there's just too much going on for you to think that you can do everything. I think that's pretty ignorant. Like, oh, I could be the bookkeeper and I could do the sales and I'm also the marketer. I'm also going to build out all the operation. It's just like, that's hard. That's hard. You're going to do everything subpar, rather than like, I know I'm good at sales. And I know you're introducing me as the CEO. I'm not the CEO. I hired somebody to be the CEO because I'm not great at managing, but I am good at sales. So I stick with sales. I'm good at social media. So I run the social media. That's where all of our leads comes in. It's all for my organic social media. But I hired a CEO in December, the first month we franchised. Her name's Jill Summer Hayes. She founded a company called Maui Wowie Smoothies and Coffee in 1983. Ran it till 2015. She sold it, at its peak, it had just under 700 locations. Then she started a franchise development company to help other companies franchise. She was doing that till one of the companies offered her the CEO position. She took her from, a concept to 90 locations in a few years. And that's where we took her from. And that was in December. So I'm like, she's way better at this than me. And what I told myself when I hired her, because how do you afford somebody like that, right? Well, I could go, if nothing else, I could go knock doors, sell solar again, and pay her salary. Because me knocking doors and paying her salary and her running the company is way more efficient than me running the company with no food or franchising experience. And man, that was the best decision ever, because it's allowed us. I mean, who wants to buy franchises from Bennett? Nobody, right? Who wants to buy franchises from Jill? Everybody. She's been there, done that. And then we've done that with our advisory board, with our VP of ops, with our VP of production. It's like, get the top tier talent that have grown businesses from 0 to 50 million in a few years, 0 to 70 million in 2 years. That's our VP of production guy. People trust those guys. They don't trust me. So I just want to put the team together and then sell the franchises, right? And then make sure that the back end support's there.
Here's my question to you. Why cookies?
No reason other than it was an opportunity. To this day, I've never mixed a batch of cookies. Like, other than homemade cookies, when I was growing up, like at Dirty Dough, I've never touched a recipe. I've never dumped flour into the thing. So it had nothing to do with cookies. It was just, I saw cookies were profitable, or that the potential, I should say, to be very profitable. And then I just saw the gap in the market. So Dirty Dough, that to jump into the history, it was an existing company that somebody else that I went to high school started, and I bought it from the beginning of last year. And he was looking to sell. I looked at the numbers and I thought, I know nothing about food or franchising, but I could tell you, if I just reduce your labor and reduce your waste, then I have a great model. So again, it was just kind of fell into my lap. If it was donuts, I would have done the same thing. If it was smoothies, I would have done the same thing. Nothing to do with cookies. It was just, hey, this is a model that I see is working, and it can be drastically improved. And that's when I jumped in.
So you're more of a, if I like the model, I believe in the model, I'm all in on the model. So
yeah, I mean, Crumble touts the world's best cookie. I don't care about the world's best cookie. What the hell is the world's best? That doesn't exist, right? The world's best cookie does not exist because it's subject to taste buds and everybody has a different preference. So why go after the world's best cookie? And then you look at all the top franchises out there. What's the top Mexican food franchise? Taco Bell. Do they have the best Mexican food? Of course not, right?
They're the best known now. But no, believe it or not, they were voted the past couple of years in a row the best Mexican restaurant. So people that vote would differ, would argue with you on that one.
Maybe I need to go find those people. I've never met somebody that's going to argue that Taco Bell is the best Mexican food. Panda Express is the best Chinese food. McDonald's has the best hamburger, but it's about consistency and processes. So that's what I base that. You need a good product. Don't get me wrong, right? And I think we have a better product than the competition. But that's not the key. Like, there's this whole thing. recipes. You know, we could dive into that as well. They're like, Crumble's like, oh, Dirty Dough stole our recipes. I'm like, our cookies are so different. You can't even accuse us. The funny thing is they're not saying we used them. They just said that we had access to them. And I'm like, whatever that means. But like, I'll show anybody the recipes. The business is not built on a recipe, right? The recipe, there's copycat recipes at every top restaurant, at every top food dish, whatever. You can find the recipe. It's the model, the consistency, and the economics that make a business.
Well, how can you trademark a chocolate chip cookie? I mean, we don't know who the originator of the chocolate chip cookie is. You know, it's not like Mrs. Fields is going out there going after anybody that sells a cookie. Oh, well, you know, Subway sells cookies. Let's go after them.
The funny thing about the Crumble situation, so they, in their lawsuit, they put, I think, 5 or 6 pictures side by side of our product next to their product. So one was our ice cream next to their ice cream. Like, heaven forbid our ice cream looks the same. Their cookie with sprinkles and our cookie with sprinkles. Their Twix cookie, our Twix cookie. Their Fruity Pebble cookie, our Fruity Pebble cookie. Their cinnamon swirl cookie, our cinnamon swirl cookie. Their Facebook picture cover page had cookies, ours did too. And they're saying, wow, look, everybody, Dirty Dough's copying us. The funny thing is, this is all social media, right? And social media comes with timestamps. Of all those examples I just mentioned, the 6 or 7 examples, the Fruity Pebble cookie is the only cookie that Crumble actually released before us. And anybody with a cell phone and internet access can go verify that. Like, they legitimately chose examples of us releasing a product, then months later, them releasing a product, and then saying, look, Dirty Dough's copying us. I don't, this is so silly. I mean, the whole lawsuit is just, it was filed by an idiot. Like, I would love to meet that dude and be like, hey dude, let's chat. I would love to see what's going through your brain. Because they didn't even do research before they filed a lawsuit. But I understand why. They're suing everybody. I mean, and it's just, you know, who doesn't have money to fight back? That's what it is. Because it doesn't matter who's right or wrong. It's who can afford a better attorney and better discovery experts and all of that, whatever, you know, and see. So I see their strategy and I just disagree with it. I think it's very anti-competitive and un-American.
And pretty stupid. That's like if Universal Studios sued Walt Disney World if they added a roller coaster. And I'm like, well, you know,
yeah.
or Six Flags went after either or, because, you know, they're known for their roller coasters. So how dare you try to copy, you know, their business model? Heck, it's hard to differentiate anything. Could you imagine if, like, Universal Studios or any of these studios went after another company for doing a rom-com? It's like, hey, you copied our formula. A boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back. We're going after you.
So whimsical is what they claimed in our lawsuit. We both used whimsical cookie designs. So I'm like looking up whimsical, which basically just means fun and playful. So going after that comedy example, yeah, it would be the same as saying, look, we produce funny videos and TV series, and you also produce funny. I mean, it literally says whimsical, that we can't use whimsical in our lawsuit. And I'm like, come on, guys, who's giving you advice?
I literally, when I friended you and I saw all that, I'm like, are these guys for? At first, at your post, I thought it was like satire that, you know, you're trying to drum up.
Sprinkles ones? No, I mean,
right. If you saw me posting a frivolous lawsuit like that on anybody copying anybody, dude, Burger King even made a commercial not too long ago that they were trying to steal the recipe on their breakfast recipes from McDonald's, because McDonald's was owning their lunch for breakfast. They even did a playful thing on it. Dude, there's nothing that anybody can go after unless you literally, that's like Elon Musk going after anybody that has an EV out there.
Yeah, it's so, man. But again, they're not even saying we used any recipes, because it's so apparent that we did it. They're just saying that we stole them. Now, how did we steal them? No idea. Love for them to make an argument against that. But it was a PR stunt. It was, hey guys, we've had hundreds of thousands of people and tens of thousands of comments boycotting Crumbl. Let's try to save face a little bit. Let's not say that they did anything illegal. Let's not say that they used anything, but let's just make that, just throw out some claims out there. So their actual allegation is that Dirty Dough planned, like in the past tense, planned to leverage these materials to formulate their copycat business. So not that we did it, we just planned to do it. I'm like, you guys are silly. You guys are silly.
But you said it best, un-American. But here, you're gonna laugh at this, because they go for the Christian model, like Chick-fil-A, closed on Sundays. Wouldn't that be anti-Christian in the grand scheme of things to go after the little man on a frivolous lawsuit? I mean, right?
So I haven't even asked, like, hey, who else is getting sued? But I get all these. One's a grocery store. They're suing a grocery store because guess what? They sell cookies. There's another company, and guess what? They don't sell. They don't sell cookies. They're getting sued. There's another company that's been around, and I posted about this last week. They've been around since 2005. Crumbl came at the end of 2017, and Crumbl's still trying to sue them. Like, these guys have been around over a decade longer than you guys. How are you going to sue them? So they're suing grocery stores, people that don't sell cookies, people that do sell cookies, people that have been around decades longer than them. And it's just like, this is so silly.
Mrs. Fields better watch out.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is like, it's a very bad look for them, which it should be. They shouldn't do this. And we would love for this to be an example of what not to do when you're a large company. And hopefully, the ultimate goal is we have some legislation changed, that you can't jot up, hey guys, this company copied me, we both have sprinkled cookies, when that's completely verifiably false. Like, you should have to do some level of due diligence before making claims in a lawsuit. The other claim that they made was Dirty Dough was founded by a former Crumbl employee in June of 2019. Just anybody get on Google and type in, when was Dirty Dough founded? You'll see it was founded in 2018, right? The state website, news articles. I mean, it's like, that's a 10-second Google search. You guys, the law should require some amount of due diligence before filing a lawsuit, or there should be repercussions. And there isn't built in there. Like, you could just claim whatever the hell you want and file it. And then people are like, oh, that's probably true because it's a court document. And it's like, no, that's not true. You could file whatever you want. I could say that aliens exist, right? Crumbl's run by aliens, and I could just file that. So anyways, that's the ultimate goal, is to change it, not just defending ourselves, but defending the other 6 companies that are getting sued and the other ones that we don't know about.
And I have to say, out of alignment and talking the talk, because, actions speak louder than words. The first conversation we ever had, there's a purpose behind this, behind the reason why you must be successful, is you want to literally serve, to help others, to help those that have mental issues, correct?
Exactly. So, I mean, going back into like how I got into that, it was just over 3 years ago. I listened to a podcast and was tracking the correlation between suicide, mental illnesses, and social media. And at the time, I have a 2-year-old daughter and a newborn daughter. So again, 3 years ago, now they're 5 and 3. And he's saying, that we have this mental health crisis it's not so much affecting millennials as much as it is Gen X and Gen Z, because they're the ones that now have social media in, elementary school, junior highs. And he says some people argue that the rise is due to us being more comfortable talking about it. So there's more people report having anxiety because they're more comfortable talking about it. And then he goes, well, what about this? And he pulls up a graph. And this graph shows this self-harm, like hospital admissions due to self-harm. So you're harming yourself so bad in attempt to commit suicide that you have to go to the hospital. Okay. That went up 189% in 5 years. Like, that's crazy. You know what I mean? So 100%, that's twice as many people being admitted to the hospital than the previous year. This is 189%. So it's like, well, man, what do you do with that? How do you combat that as a dad? then a few other things, but just to kind of make the story short, like that's what Dirty Dough is founded on. The mission statement is to find joy and fulfillment despite life's dirtiness in ourselves and others. So how do we be happy? How do we be fulfilled? Well, fulfillment typically comes from contributing to something greater than ourselves. Despite life's dirtiness speaks to don't wait for life to be perfect to be happy and fulfilled. Focus on yourself first, then help as many people as possible. So that was like a lot of soul searching for myself personally. What is my mission here? And I want to be happy. I want to be fulfilled. And then I want to help as many people as possible do it. So that's what Dirty Dough is based on, is my personal mission statement, just tweaked slightly for Dirty Dough. And I don't know, I mean, money's exciting to an extent, right? But who really cares? Like, one of the activities that I did that really changed my mind about this was the obituary activity. Write your own obituary. Do you, I mean, for me, at least when I did it, the last thing that came to mind was Bennett died and he had a lot of money. Like, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be known for that. But it's like, Bennett helped other people. You know what I mean?
No, completely, dude. I wrote a chapter in that in my book that we're the authors of our own obituary. You're the creator of your own legacy. You know, if you're a dick and you suck now, well, you know, right this second you can change just by saying, "Hey, I'm tired of it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to change." Actions speak louder than words. You know, a lot of people just instead they're like focused on their past and like, oh man, you know, I'm a horrible dad. Okay. Well, are your kids alive? Yes. Okay. Well, you can change that now. Yeah. But yeah, Matt, you're the master of your life. You're the creator of your destiny. And exactly, you're right, man. And that's why I said you're evolved. The franchise that I just left after 20 years, dude's like busy posting every day that, you know, $700 bottle of wine, $750 wine, these epic vacations that cost like, you know, $100K a pop, $200K a pop. And it's like, dude, that's not what life's about. On a smaller scale, years ago, I was chasing money. But like what you said best, when you died, do you think people are going to be like, man, you know, Omar and Bennett, those guys threw epic parties and they drove a great car. Right? Whoa, you should have seen the bank account. Who cares, man? You know, Mother Teresa, and I tell people this, great in sales. If she wanted to, she could have been a billionaire. She could have sold anything she wanted. But instead, she chose a life of being in service, of hustling and grinding the movement. And that's how she became a saint. People are like, look at her actions. Nobody is like, and you know, it's like, do you want to follow that path or do you want to follow? Oh man, you should have seen his epic pics on those trips that he took on social media. Man, that guy was a baller.
The motivation is just different. You know, like you're gonna work longer hours and harder if it's something that you believe in. So like our goal with Dirty Dough and achieving that, I mean, it's twofold. How do we get people more joy and more fulfillment? Well, one, it's in your mind, right? Like you see poor people that are happy and you see rich people that are miserable. So it's obviously not money. So let's work on our mental health. And that's where that came from. So what are we doing? We pay for a program for all of our employees and all the employees of the franchisees that they can go learn about their mental health and what therapy is and what it's used for, and book online therapy sessions if needed, or yoga or guided meditation, or even if it's just financial stress, right? But they have the different guides that they can go and better their lives. Now, what the other thing that we're trying to do is start a lot younger. So we're building wellness centers in K through 12 schools, and we want to build one wellness center per franchise. The goal is to do 1,000 franchise stores open and 1,000 wellness stores open and funded in the next 5 years. I mean, really 4.5 years by the end of 2026. And that's going to, these are old classrooms that are converted to a wellness center so people can learn not how to be safe from the world, but when life kicks you in the teeth, what do? How do you bounce back? How do you manage risks? How do you manage stress and anxiety? And teaching them those skills rather than just protecting them from everything, right? And like, you're going to get exposed to this. Here are the tools so you can get through it and be more resilient afterwards, right? and be stronger because of it. So that's what gets me excited. And then that's the first piece, mental health. The second piece is what brings me joy and fulfillment. Well, number one is my family. Number two, though, and I'm not going to tell everybody to go start a family. That's a personal decision. But number two of what's given me joy and fulfillment is entrepreneurship, like being your own boss, having time freedom, having freedom to spend a little bit more money or go on a vacation. Yeah, I'm not promoting the $100,000 vacations, but like I went to Mexico last month with my wife for a whole month because that's where her family lives. She wanted to visit her family, right? And I got to be able to do that. So entrepreneurship is huge for me. And that's the secondary task, I guess, that Dirty Dough is trying to accomplish in order to have people have more joy and fulfillment, is how do we lower the barrier of entry to entrepreneurship? Well, it needs to cost less. So we're half the cost of the competition. It needs to be less time. So it needs to be a lot easier to operate. It has to, you don't have to be, an expert baker anymore because you're not baking cookies. I mean, you're putting them in the oven, but you're not actually mixing and measuring things. And then here's the game plan. So it's all about lowering that barrier of entry to entrepreneurship. And that's why we also do mobile franchises. So a brick and mortar store is half the cost of the competition. Well, a mobile franchise, which is like a food truck, food trailer, is even half the cost of that. So that's what we're trying to do, is focus on mental health first, and also provide people with more opportunities to have the potential to add joy and fulfillment to their lives.
What I love about it is your typical franchise, the model is you're going to bleed out minimum of a year till break even. Mm-hmm. Your model cuts that cost or cuts the time way less. And also, some of these build outs on these franchises, it'll take anywhere from 5 to 7 years after you sign for a 10-year lease franchise agreement to make back your money. It's like, what's the point, man? Mm-hmm. And that when it hits you in the face like that, I mean, that was one of the eye openers that got my ex-wife and I. It was a mutual agreement because I was stating facts. What's the point in being a business owner?
Right.
You want everybody to succeed. You don't want somebody married to their company, a slave to their business. Because a lot of times people think, hey, I own this business. I'm a business owner. No, that business owns you, buddy. You're a slave, man. That's like that 40-something-year-old son or daughter that's never left the house. That's just a friggin' noose around your neck. And so many entrepreneurs out there pretend that they're hashtag winning, and literally they're not.
Yeah. I mean, the owner operator model, to kind of touch on that a little bit more, like it makes some sense. Like if I wanted my stores to do the best, it would be owner operated, right? Like, Omar, if you're in the store, your store is going to run 10% better than if you're not in the store. Like, that's just what it is, because you're going to care about it. But even then, it's kind of like, well, I would rather have 5 stores doing 90% rather than 1 store doing 100%, because you can't scale at that point. And that's what it's really about. Is like, we're fine realizing that the top line might be a little bit lower because we don't have owners in there, but that's not the model. Does our mission statement talk about the top line revenue? No, it talks about joy and fulfillment. And it's harder to have that if you're working in your store serving cookies 60 hours a week, right? It's just harder to have that. So it's like, well, we're not going to require that not because we don't want it financially. Financially, it makes more sense to require owner operated, but that's not the mission statement. That doesn't bring more joy and fulfillment, at least not in my opinion.
No, it doesn't. A lot of people live in scarcity, and that's why they're like, well, I can increase. You can increase what? By decreasing, by being a babysitter to your company. It in the grand scheme of things, when we scaled out and we took a step back, yeah, you're making a little less, but not really, because if you're focused more on the big things, marketing, social media marketing, looking for more locations, looking for other side hustles, looking for other passive investments that pays you dividends and stuff, it all makes complete sense. But I still hear to this day, well, if you're not in your business, someone else is. It's like, should we play the ominous music? Should we play the music from Halloween? Friday the 13th? Who cares, man? Like what you said best. You took your family on a vacation away from the hustle and bustle. You had the proper people running things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's about. You want to be a leader. A leader, you hire a team. You empower the team. You don't tell them all the things that they can't do. You give them some autonomy. And it's going to be like, whoa, they're actually running my store. Whenever you go to a franchise or whenever you go to any business and you ask someone to solve the problem and they say, that's not my job description, or that's not my department. Yeah. Boom, right there. Right? You know, that's a boss. That's not a leader running that organization.
Yep. No, 100%.
Well, the place was on fire. I couldn't call because it wasn't in my book. That wasn't my job description. So yeah. I couldn't call the fire department.
And that's another thing, like that happens more and more when people are after a check rather than a purpose. Right? If you're after a purpose, it's like, let's just get the job done to fulfill the purpose. If you're after a check, it is about, am I getting paid for this or am I not? It's like, well, no, are you helping other people be more fulfilled and happy? Like, and then act accordingly, right? Don't worry about if you're getting paid for it or not. I mean, that's how I've been trying to analyze my life, right? Because that's my mission statement. So that's what I need to do. And I always need to ask that question. It's not, oh, well, this person should be doing it or that person should be doing it. It's just like, does it align with my mission statement or does it not?
Well, when you don't have a mission statement and you don't have people aligned towards that goal, what you're going to do is you're going to have just headhunters that are with you temporarily till they can find another position that just pays a little more or that might align to their mission statement. And you'll have to keep on training and retraining and retraining. And you're going to have to keep on, your printer's going to run out of ink because you're going to have to keep on printing the new roster of your employees and your team. Yeah. And people have to ask themselves, is that the environment that you want? Or do you want an environment where not only do you have raving fans, but you have your team that shows ownership and says, let's do it. Let's go after the crumble. Let's go after the Mrs. Fields. Let's go after the midnight cookies. Let's go after, yeah. Well, yeah. It's a QSR, quick service restaurant. Everybody's your competitor. You know. Well, I don't feel like getting dirty dough. I feel like getting ice cream. That's why when it comes to QSR, quick service restaurant, if it feeds the belly and puts a smile on your face, that's your competitor. So ultimately, I love the vision. You want to open up 1,000 locations, 1,000 wellness. But my question to you is, I know how to find you by multiple streams, what phone, etc. How do the listeners find you? How do they become part of the Dirty Dough franchise?
DirtyDoughCookies.com is our website, and you can go to franchise in there. And then I try to post daily and provide valuable content, not just about pitching Dirty Dough or anything like that, but just what I'm doing in business, what I'm doing in sales, what's working, what's not. So Bennett Maxwell, BENNETT Maxwell, MAXWELL.com. You can go there, and then I have, a bunch of other podcasts that I've recorded, but you could follow me on the different socials if you want to see if you can get value out of what I'm putting out there.
And follow him on Facebook. He does have good content. It's not just like some other CEOs and some other business owners, entrepreneurs, other CFOs posting, hey, this is what I drive. This is what I can buy. You actually do have content. And when social media, to do great social media content, it's about the viewer. It's about giving them a compelling reason. People have it mixed up, and it's the opposite. Me, or buy from me, buy from me. You're never saying, hey, dirty dough, dirty dough, dirty dough, dirty dough.
Yeah.
Because and that's what people fail to realize. If you look at, and it's not just franchises, it can be Joe Bob's Plumber. Oh, use my service. Use my service. Okay, well, give us a reason why we need to know you, brother. Give us a compelling reason why, we need to use Joe Bob Plumbing and not like the 50 other people.
No, exactly. I mean, like, speaking of a car, I have driven a Tesla for over 4 years now, but you won't find it on my social media because I've never posted about it. I'm posting about the nonprofit and about how we're trying to make a difference, or about credit and how to utilize that, or asking for help when I run into issues. How do I get financing for this or funding for that? Or this is how I built my advisory board. I try to add value because, again, what aligns with the mission statement? Is it sell more franchises, or is it help more people be happy and fulfilled? And then sharing those things that I'm learning with other people that help me be happy and fulfilled. So that's definitely my strategy on social media. And hopefully I'm doing it. If not, I'll get better.
No, you're
I
doing,
think it's going good.
Everybody gets better and better. You're doing an outstanding job. And I can speak to you for hours and hours. The viewers or the listeners, they only like the 1 hour. Pretty soon, podcasts are going to be 1 minute or 3 minute, like a TikTok video. Maybe we'll start dancing before that. But any words of wisdom to?
No, well, I mean, we hit on the mission statement. If you don't have a defined mission statement, that every decision you ever make in your life, you can go back to that mission statement and say, does this push me closer or to this mission statement or further away? If you don't have that, go do some soul searching and find it. That would be my piece of advice.
Hey, amen, brother. Amen. It's not about chasing money. We've all been there. We've all done that. You start evolving and you start growing as a person when, like you said it best, dude, poor people can be happy and the wealthiest can be miserable. The happiest country in this world is Fiji. They're also the poorest. That says a lot.
And you look at the suicide rates, the highest demographic for suicide is rich white males. That's who's killing themselves the most. And it's like, okay, well, that shows you right there, with your example and that example, it's like, it's not about the money, right? It's about something else. So let's find out what that something else is.
And if you're also the CFO of Bed Bath & Beyond, don't pump and dump. You might be part of the numbers. All right, brother. I know that's a poor joke, but
Well, Omar, I really appreciate you having me on. It was a blast hanging out with you.
Dude, the best is yet to come. I'm gonna help sell, your company, because I do believe in Dirty Dough and my kids, man. You can actually order them online and they'll ship.
Yep.
So that's something the competitor doesn't do, and you'll see they're beautiful cookies. I know they're not supposed to be beautiful, but man, they're like they're amazing. You have to try it. They're gooey, they're big, they're messy. It's just like life, man. Nobody's perfect. None of these cookies look the same, but none of us do. Brother, thank you for the opportunity. We'll be in touch, and so let's get to 1,000 stores.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Take care.